Good morning. We appreciate you joining us for the October 2015 City of Winston-Salem Public Safety News Conference. This morning, the order of presentation will be fire, then police, then emergency management. Before we get started this morning, from the fire department perspective, I'd like for you to join me in honoring the memory of one of Winston-Salem Fire Department's fallen firefighters. Chief J.B. Goforth died in the line of duty on October 29, 1956. Chief Goforth was in command of an apartment fire at the intersection of 14th and English Streets when he suffered a cardiac arrest and died en route to the hospital. And also this morning, as we remember Chief Goforth, we need to remember Larry Leggio and John Mesh, Kansas City, Missouri firefighters who died in the line of duty also at an apartment fire in a mixed-use commercial building Monday night. If you will, join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. Incidentally, firefighters Leggio and Mesh are the 67th and 68th line of duty firefighter deaths in the United States this year. The fire department presentation for this month is on the bond projects that we are undertaking as part of the bond referendum that was passed in 2014. We are renovating 2 fire stations and we are replacing a fire station. Thank you. Fire Station 7 is located at the intersection of Arbor and Country Club. All 3 of these fire stations were built in the early 50s to early 60s, and they demonstrate the architecture and show the wear and tear that you would expect to see in facilities that have been used for that long. It's important to remember that a fire station never gets a break. You know, for most of us who are here today, our houses are getting a break. There are at least fewer people in your house today flushing toilets and opening doors and using the refrigerator and walking on the floors and other things that wear a building out. A fire station never gets a break. It's a 24-hour-a-day, 365-day-a-year operation that people are living in and using those facilities. So they wear more readily than what buildings would wear if they were getting a break during the day like our residences. So at Station 7, so the 3 stations we're working on, 7 will be remodeled, 9 will be remodeled, and 8 will be replaced. At all 3 of these facilities, if you were to visit them, you would see limited accommodations, particularly for females that now are much more prevalent in the fire service than they were in the 50s and 60s. No drive-through parking apparatus in these facilities. Most often have to back in off the street, which is dangerous. A lot of apparatus accidents occur during backing. There is no capacity for sort of upstaffing, if you will. So the Winston-Salem Fire Department is staffed for a particular, a typical day in the city of Winston-Salem, but for occasions like we had week before last where we were anticipating a rain event, and early in that week we were expecting a visit from Hurricane Joaquin. We have no capacity to bring on additional companies and staff our facilities with additional personnel resources. There's not room for them. There's no apparatus space. There's no dormitory space. The bathrooms can't accommodate them. So that's a major theme to these renovation and replacement projects. So Station 7, that project is funded at $2 million, and we expect bids to go out early in 2016 and for the contract to be awarded in March. Here you see a picture from the front of Station 7. This is a 2-bay facility, but again, there is no provision for for drive-through parking for the apparatus in the bays. You see pretty Spartan living conditions on the inside. This is a photograph of the kitchen. So again, when we are trying to staff at more than what the normal day requires, even the kitchen table is not sufficient. Spartan conditions in the restroom. This is a combination restroom locker room facility. Again, no accommodation for females. Barren furniture that is well worn in our dormitory facilities. You see an office space that has long outlived its usefulness. Not much workspace there. We have what workspace is available cluttered with books and manuals and radios and computer equipment. Station 8 is on Renolda Road, adjacent to Wake Forest University. This facility is a single bay station, opened in the late 50s. This is a replacement project, so that station as it exists will continue to operate. We have purchased 2 lots next door to the existing Station 8, and a new facility will be constructed there. That project is budgeted for about $2.6 million, and we expect to award that contract next month. This will be the first project that we break ground on. Here you see a shot from the front of Station 8, again, single bay, and for those of you who are close, you can see here that there is minimal clearance between the top of Engine 8 and the opening of the apparatus bay door. As fire departments have increased their service level and the number of services that they provide to the public, fire apparatus have had to get larger as a result, because we are now carrying more equipment than we were 50 or 60 years ago. We are limited in how wide fire apparatus can be and still be allowed on the highway, so they have to get longer and they have to get taller. And you can see the result of the increase in the height of fire apparatus relative to the bay door opening at this facility. Again, an office space that has outlived its usefulness, cluttered with printers and computer equipment, file cabinets that are overloaded. Again, a Spartan kitchen and eating area. We have been relegated to using spaces for combined purposes. So what you see here is a dormitory space with a very well-worn chair in combination with exercise equipment. Half of all firefighters who die in the line of duty every year, and the number bounces back and forth between about 80 and 120 annually in the United States, about 50% of those die from cardiac arrest suffered in the line of duty. So we have a very defined focus on physical fitness in the fire service. So we do require our operations personnel to maintain their physical fitness, but we have very limited equipment and facilities and space to be able to provide for them to be able to do that. So here you see exercise equipment in a dormitory space. This is the only bathroom in that fire station, so again, no accommodation for females in the fire service. Station 9 is located on Ogburn Avenue. That station, like the other two, no accommodation for upstaffing, limited apparatus space, limited dormitory space. In all but the last 3 facilities that we have built as fire stations in the city, we do what's called hot bunking. So the beds are being slept in every day. So you're turning over sheets and bedspreads and that sort of thing on the mattresses all the time. So they never get a break. In these 3 facilities, when they are complete, there will be beds plus for all personnel who were assigned to that station. So when we have the opportunity and the need to bring on additional personnel, we won't be deploying air mattresses on the floor like we were 2 weeks ago during that severe weather event. For the public, it's important to note that we do provide the way we operate. We run a 3-shift system, and those shifts are 24 hours at a time. So shift changes at 7:30 in the morning, and that shift that comes on at 7:30 in the morning, they work for 24 hours until 7:30 the next morning. So, you know, I'm sure somebody has it in their mind, well, why does there even need to be beds in a fire station? They ought not be sleeping while I'm paying them. But we know that we've done the actuarial studies, and we know the 3-shift system is the most efficient way to staff a full-time career fire department. So we can't expect those people to stay awake for 24 hours a day. So, you know, for about 8 hours of that 24-hour day, that 24-hour shift, we do allow them to sleep so long as they don't have a call. And studies have shown that while this is efficient from a taxpayer standpoint, it is not good for firefighters, because being awakened several times during the night at 2 or 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning interrupts the sleep cycle and is detrimental on the physical well-being of the firefighters. But this is the system that we work within, and the 3-shift system is what you see almost everywhere in the United States for career fire departments. So Station 9, this is a smaller project. We're going to upgrade dormitory facilities, expand bathroom facilities, and add an additional apparatus bay. The project is budgeted for $420,000, and like Station 7, we expect to award the contract and break ground in March of next year. Here you see a picture from the front, again a single bay station. So if you wanted to put an additional engine in here for times of increased need based on call demand, there's no capacity to do that. There's not room behind this engine for another engine to park. And of course, during times particularly of inclement weather, when it is freezing, fire apparatus carry water on board. You can't park fire apparatus outside. Here you see another combined living space. So what you see here is dormitory, sitting, and office space with lockers all in one room. This kitchen has been upgraded since that facility was built, so this is sort of the high spot of Station 9, if you will. Again, we have dormitory and exercise facilities combined in one room, and this is just again a product of nature, the changing nature of the fire service and what we're doing today versus what we were doing in the 50s and 60s when this facility was built. Again, no female accommodations in terms of locker room, shower, and restroom facilities. So that's it. Again, the theme for those 3 facilities is pretty common: lack of female facilities, lack of apparatus space, lack of dormitory space, and buildings that are 60 or 70 years old that just need some tender loving care. Any questions for me before I turn the podium over to Chief Barry Roundtree and his staff? Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Mayo. Good morning. Good morning. I'm Chief Roundtree from the Police Department. I want to thank you all for being here this morning. I also want to take this opportunity to thank all the women and men of the Winston-Salem Police Department for your service and for your dedication to the citizens of Winston-Salem and the Winston-Salem Police Department. We want to open our portion this morning with our officers' remembrance also. We'd like to pause as we honor Sergeant Mickey Gray Hutchins. Sergeant Hutchins, end of watch, Monday, October the 12th, 2009. Cause of death, gunfire. Date of incident, Wednesday, October the 7th, 2009. Sergeant Hutchins was shot outside a local restaurant after he responded to a call reporting a disturbance there. The restaurant's manager reported that her ex-husband, who had an outstanding warrant for his arrest, was at the restaurant and would not leave. The suspect fled from officers and then opened fire at close range when he was confronted. The suspect shot Sergeant Hutchins in the head and also shot Officer Daniel Clark in the head and chest before he was fatally wounded. Both officers were transported to a local hospital. Officer Clark survived his injuries and was released from the hospital. Days later, Sergeant Mickey Hutchins died of his injuries. Sergeant Hutchins was a 27-year veteran of the Winston-Salem Police Department. Let's take a moment to remember Sergeant Hutchins. Thank you. The list of topics that we have to discuss today, first up we'll have a report on our 2015 traffic fatalities. That will be provided by Sergeant Rob Peterson from our Traffic Enforcement Unit. We also provide information on our on domestic violence. October is Domestic Violence Month, and we'll have Michelle Martin who will provide information. Also, we'll introduce several new police canines that we have in the department that will be provided by Sergeant Neil Barrier and his staff. First up, Traffic Enforcement Unit.
Good morning. My name is Sergeant Peterson with the Winston-Salem Police Department. I work with the Traffic Enforcement Unit. We're just going to discuss a couple of trends that we're seeing with the 2015 fatalities. As you can see on this graph right here, we're already to 19 fatalities. And I guess the shocking part is we have same number of car fatalities involving cars with pedestrians. And so we started looking at it and trying to figure out what's the common cause of the pedestrians, what are we seeing, why are we having such a upturn with this, and not really sure. We're having a little bit of visibility problem with the pedestrians. They're coming out in the roadway where the intersections are not well lit. They're going at, they're disregarding the crosswalks. They're wearing earphones, they're not listening to their surroundings, and you can see we wrote some notes up here. We're trying to get them to be visible, walk toward traffic. These aren't in state statute, but it's common knowledge and some good points. Stay alert, avoid distractions, put your phone down. We've had some that stand on the side of the road with their phone, step out while they're texting, and you know that the vehicles usually win on this collision. Walk in safe places, use crosswalks, stay on the sidewalks whenever possible, follow the traffic signals, and you can look it up, North Carolina General Statute 20-172. Understand having the right-of-way or legal right to the road does not change the laws of physics, and that's what we're discussing again. You might think you have the right-of-way, you might have the right-of-way, but if a car collides you, you're going to end up being on the other end of that one. Pedestrian fatalities in 2014 versus what we're looking at in 2015, it's a 100% increase. And it goes back to a lot more people have their earphones on, they're texting while they're walking, they're under the understanding that no matter where they cross over, that they have the right of way. And once again, that's not true. Safe practice for drivers. Assume the pedestrian does not see you. Look at the pedestrians at all times. Pedestrians are in places they're not supposed to be. If you're driving and you see somebody, we'll say a hitchhiker or a pedestrian downtown, slow down. You don't know what they're thinking. You don't know if they see you. Assume that they don't come to a slower speed, and then you can take an evasive maneuver if he does step out on you. Obey the speed limits. Reduce speed in areas that have crosswalks and intersections. Increased speed increases damage and injury rates. Yield to pedestrians in crosswalks. What's a few seconds and let them go ahead on across and try to rush yourself to work, and then you'll be spending more time with us if there is a collision and whatever happens after that point. Be attentive, especially around school and bus stops. There's a lot of bus stops in this city. We get a lot of bus violations. Don't be the one to hit the child. Understand having the right of way does not alleviate the guilt you may place on yourself if you are involved in a fatal crash. So you were driving the vehicle, you are in the right of way, you collide with the collision. How do you feel the rest of your life that you did take somebody's life, even if it wasn't your fault? So just take some of these practices and utilize them. Pedestrian fatalities through the years, you can see that we're still, 2015 you go all the way back to 2011, we've increased so much. And once again, the only thing we can put it is inattention, just not just not watching what you're doing. Too many distractions out there. This goes back to 2011 and shows you the increase of the fatalities and from the car to pedestrian. 2012, you can see we had an increase. We had 23 fatalities. And then of this year, just as of September, we're at 19. Now, hopefully we can just stop for the rest of the year and everybody can have a good holiday season and we don't have to talk about this anymore. But as you can see the trend, sometimes it stays, sometimes it doesn't. Do we have any questions? Okay, drive safely. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Michelle Martin. I'm a Victim Assistant Coordinator with the Winston-Salem Police Department. Today I will be providing you information of the Domestic Violence Awareness 2015 initiative for the Winston-Salem Police Department, as well as statistics provided from the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence. I'd first like to start off by reading to you a quote from Russell Wilson, who is the Seattle Seahawks football player. And he provided this quote during his campaign for victims of domestic violence. The more we choose not to talk about domestic violence, the more we shy away from the issues, the more we lose. Domestic violence is a pattern of abusive behavior used by one partner in the relationship to maintain power and control over the other partner. Domestic violence affects individuals from all socioeconomic backgrounds, races, genders, and ages. Working together as a community, we can make the difference in the lives of men, women, and children. The Winston-Salem Police Department and Family Services, in conjunction with the Forsyth County District Attorney's Office and other partnerships, are working together to inform communities that domestic violence is never okay. In the United States, every 9 seconds, a woman is assaulted or physically abused. 1 in 7 men have experienced severe physical violence by an intimate partner in their life. The cost of intimate partner violence exceeds $8.3 billion per year. In a domestic violence situation, the presence of a gun increases the risk of homicide 500%. The CDC reports that domestic violence affects 1.5 million women each year. 1 in 15 children are exposed to intimate partner violence each year, with 90% of these children witnessing the violence. The Winston-Salem Police Department Victim Assistance Unit has 2 victim assistant coordinators, advocates that are available to provide victims with referrals for counseling with a licensed therapist, court advocacy, safety planning, and referrals to other community resources. The Winston-Salem Police Department also has an investigator whose main focus is on domestic violence and sexual assault cases. At this time, I would like to introduce to you, to my left, Cynthia Sullivan, Victim Assistant Coordinator, and investigator, Nolan Johnson. On October the 1st, 2015, the Domestic Violence Awareness Kickoff was held at the Winston-Salem City Hall. Mayor Alan Jones read the proclamation resolution for Domestic Violence Month The Winston-Salem Police Department unveiled 16 silent witnesses, silhouettes, sponsored by various businesses and community groups. Listed here are the names of each witness and their sponsors that are being displayed at their place of business throughout the month of October. The money raised through the sponsorship of the silent witnesses was presented to the Family Services by our very own Chief Roundtree to assist domestic violence victims in our area. A candlelight vigil was held to remember domestic violence victims who were killed during 2004 through 2014. A Winston-Salem Police Department marked vehicles are currently displaying a purple magnet ribbon recognizing Domestic Violence Awareness Month. A Domestic Violence Awareness Month banner is displayed on the bridge over the University Parkway and near Northwest Boulevard for travelers coming and going. And yes, it's a wrap. The Winston-Salem Police Department vehicle is wrapped with the Never Okay theme and was displayed at the 2015 Dixie Classic Fair and will be visible around the city during the month of October. Also present at the Dixie Classic Fair were members of the Winston-Salem Police Department, Family Services, Mine Site, and Community Intervention and Educational Services. These agencies were available to provide and discuss information about services and resources available. In observance of Domestic Violence Awareness Month, many buildings and streets in the Winston-Salem downtown area are displaying purple lighting throughout the month. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes the 2015 Domestic Violence Awareness Initiatives for the Winston-Salem Police Department. Thank you.
Good morning. Tell Karen to come in. That's fine. Okay. My name's Sergeant Neil Berry of Winston-Salem Police Department K-9 Unit. I've been doing it several years now. We've had several new members come on board started this year. Last year we had currently 3 K-9s that were retired out due to age or medical issues. Produced a need to get 3 more. In conjunction with the Walltown Business Association, they provided us funds to purchase 1 dog out of 3. We currently have 3 replacements now. The first one you're going to see here is actually Officer Andy Bilstein. He's the one that we actually dedicated as the Walltown Business Association K-9. Unfortunately, due to a family death, he's unable to join us this morning. What you're going to see here is just some basic training, how we actually start these K-9s. First thing we actually do is, in any training, is instill basic obedience. Once we get to this point, we'll move on to more advanced areas. Officer Bilstein started the training in July under the instruction of Officer Karen Simmons. She's one of our 2 trainers in the unit. Our training's basically based with 400 hours of basic K-9 training. At that point, we send them to a certification organization. That certification organization, what we're using now, is the North American Police Working Dog Association. They certify our dogs in several different aspects involving K-9. And we'll explain as we go a little bit further here exactly what these dogs can do and what they're certified in doing. What you're seeing here now, again, is just basic obedience. Starting out anything as simple as a retrieve drive. Teaching the dog to come, teaching the dog to move forward.
Good boy.
Our next dogs you're going to see is our second new dog is Officer Jake Baxter and his dog Diesel. Diesel is a 20-month-old German Shepherd,
Putz.
purchased from the same vendor.
These
On
Putz.
the second task, you'll see a dog
Fine.
complete a narcotics sniff. Each one of these dogs are trained to detect several different odors of narcotics. Illegal narcotics being marijuana, heroin, cocaine, methamphetamines.
Yes. Good
What
boy.
they do is we start out
Fine, fine.
associating that odor with their toy. Get the dog to find their toy, and shortly thereafter, they're searching for their toy,
Fine.
be it a vehicle, a house, apartment, whatever. Dogs are either, will indicate one of two ways. They'll either be a passive dog, which basically will sit, or an aggressive dog, which you'll see them actually scratch here. Jake actually came on board back in
Over, man. Come here.
2013. He was a previous handler of ours.
Good boy.
Handled Canine Mike.
Good boy.
This is the second dog going through.
Live in.
Third you'll see here is Officer Simmons, who is also a second-time handler. She started on board the Canine unit in 2008 with Canine Nikon. Canine Baron will actually purchase a 16-month-old Mal Shepherd mix. What you're going to see here is basically a dog demonstrating an arm search. Give you a little background on what that is. Anything you touch will transfer human scent onto it. What these dogs can do, I'll give you a prime example. Let's say someone steals something from a store. Tool, whatever you want. They're running. They say a police officer coming. They'll throw that into the woods or kudzu or whatever. We can actually send our dogs in there to track and locate anything of human scent. They'll do one of two things. They'll either retrieve it back to us, or they'll actually lay down beside it, just depending on how we train the dogs. Dogs also have several different other aspects we train through that 400 hours. They are trained to track. We track both suspects, missing persons. Basically how they track is anything off human scent and ground disturbance on the ground. They are trained to conduct building searches. If anybody breaks into a building, it's shown we can send these dogs in and be a whole lot safer and a whole lot quicker to have them locate the suspect hiding in there. And they're also trained to protect the handler. Someone tries to assault an officer, they can give the dog command and he'll actually protect that handler. In summary, again, we have 10 canines up and running now. These dogs have successfully completed the 400 hours and were released about a month ago. A neat little story about these dogs here. Within 2 weeks, each one of those dogs had a successful track where they located and led to the arrest of a suspect. So it really did show off their hard work. Any questions?
How much did each dog cost?
$7,500 a piece.
You said the department has 10 total?
We have 10 dogs in our patrol narcotic, which are basically patrol narcotic dogs like this. They perform a patrol function along with finding narcotics. We have 3 that's assigned to our Special Investigations Division, and we have 1 lab that works basically just the school system.
And when will they be done their training?
These are completed. Basically what we do a 400 block session, starting from basic obedience, teaching them how to sit and lay down. When we purchase these dogs, they're what we call green canines. They know very little. What we do, we go up and we test and we look for certain drives in each individual dogs. Dogs that have the drives that we were looking for, we take them from basically step 1 up to the finished product after 400 hours. And then we send them through a next step of an actual certification. Certification is done by someone who has no financial, any connection to the dogs or the handlers. A complete independent certifier will come in and certify them. Any other questions? Cap?
If I could get Contos and White Viper to step up front. Folks, as Sergeant Barrier mentioned, the Walltown Business Association played a huge part in the purchase of one of these canines, and we have a small plaque as a token of appreciation to the group. Thank you very much on behalf of the department. Thank you, Mr. Contos.
Glad to help you.
What we'll do? I'm gonna do just a little basic obedience, showing off what the first thing we do with these dogs. Just some basic obedience commands, basically the same things you do at home, just modified a little bit.
Okay, any questions from what the police department has discussed today? Okay. Next up, I'd like to welcome Mel Sattler, our Director of Emergency Management, to the podium.
Thank you, Chief Roundtree. Good morning. I'm Mel Sadler, Director of Emergency Management for the City of Winston-Salem and Forsyth County. And we want to welcome you to our media briefing today. During the past 2 weeks, Triad has been under a threat of offshore Hurricane Joaquin, as well as another weather front moving into the area from the west. We here in Forsyth County are extremely fortunate as we have been spared the brunt of the weather impact, but we still experience heavy rain and soft ground, which cause problems with trees falling and scattered power outages. Local government agencies, together in preparation for the forecast storm at that time, and we will discuss that work in just a moment. Chief Mayo has alluded to it earlier. I don't know whether you caught that or not, but we'll talk a little bit more in detail in just a moment about the effort that was made. But as you are aware, the state of South Carolina was not quite as lucky as we were. They were heavily impacted by the same weather fronts. The state experienced severe flooding and extremely high winds and is currently responding to and attempting to recover from that storm situation. As recently as this past Monday, October the 12th, the death toll in South Carolina had reached 19, and there's heavy flood damage being assessed right now. Drinking water advisories are in place still in some areas. Over 200 roads and 100 bridges are damaged and out of service. And at least 10 emergency shelters were still open as of Monday, with over 300 citizens still being sheltered. The state of North Carolina has sent National Guard to the South Carolina and other assets in a mutual aid mission, and we ask that you keep the citizens of South Carolina in your thoughts and prayers as they continue to recover from the devastation brought about by the weather situation. The governor of South Carolina has declared a state of emergency in that state, and the State Emergency Operations Center has been in operation for 15 straight days on a 24-hour basis. Should anyone wish to donate directly or to relief organizations that assist in the recovery in South Carolina, we are recommending the following websites for further information. Locally, as Chief Mayo intimated, the Office of Emergency Management coordinated the efforts of city and county government agencies to prepare for the potential storm impact of the area and to assist agencies who had resources ready for response and in the local area. Fortunately, the storm did not impact Winston-Salem and Forsyth County as first predicted. However, preparation measures were taken, and of course, we did receive a larger than usual amount of rainfall, which caused problems. Several agencies which were involved in our local preparation but are not generally thought of as being traditional public safety or playing traditional public safety roles by most citizens. In addition to law enforcement, fire, emergency medical services, public health, and other recognized response agencies, we're often joined in preparation and response by other agencies who have resources and capabilities that are needed in our efforts as local government. We were joined last week in our preparedness efforts by elements of the City of Winston-Salem City Link Department and the City of Winston-Salem Department of Transportation in preparation for and response to the predicted storm and anticipated recovery afterwards. We're pleased to have with us today the leaders of those two organizations, and they're going to speak briefly on what their agencies do on a normal day-to-day basis and what extraordinary roles their agencies may perform in the event of severe weather situations and in some other public safety response. We'll hear first from the Director of CityLink, the city's 311 call center, Chantel Davis, and she's going to be followed by the Director of City of Winston-Salem Department of Transportation, Tonique McCullough. Both speakers will provide information on efforts taken by their agencies in preparing for last week's predicted storm and for future public safety situations which may require multi-agency response. Please join me in welcoming Chantel Davis.
Thank you, Mel. Good morning. My name is Chantel Davis. I'm the Director of CityLink 311. CityLink provides one centralized location for citizens and residents of City of Winston-Salem to contact in order to ask questions or get information about city services. And also we submit service requests and dispatch crews for non-911 emergencies such as water main breaks, down trees, traffic signals that are malfunctioning, also traffic signs that may be down or broken. So the most common way to get in touch with CityLink would be by calling us 311 or 727-8000. However, there are other methods that the citizens and residents can use to get in contact with us. They can reach us via the website that's here behind me at cityofwinstonsalem.org. They can go on there and click on the CityLink icon, and from there they can actually submit a request via the web. From that same web page, they can chat live with us. They can reach an agent live and chat with us. They can also email us from that site, or they can reach us via, they can download our mobile app and reach us by that way as well. We currently have 21 agents and 6 support staff that are available during our normal operating hours, which are 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Fridays, and we are open 9 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. on the weekends. We are also open all holidays except for New Year's Day, Thanksgiving Day, and Christmas Day. Now, in the event that there is a major disaster or severe inclement weather, such as the storm that was forecasted a few weeks ago, we do revert back to a 24-hour operations. During that storm, we reverted back to 24 hours on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. During the last weather event, since the storm, as Mel said, since the storm didn't impact us as originally forecasted, the call volume wasn't as high as we thought. However, there were 60 reported non-911 emergencies beginning Friday around 7 p.m. through the weekend. There were 13 traffic signal outages, 3 down traffic signs. There were 42 tree service calls, which this could be down trees or trees that are leaning that are causing a traffic hazard. And there were 2 drainage issues. I know the storm was kind to us, but I also know that there was some proactive efforts by Ms. McCullough's staff and DOT to make our jobs a lot easier. So if there are no questions for me, I'll turn it over to Tonique so she can discuss what occurred on the DOT level.
Good morning. Thank you, Chantel. I am Tonique McCullough, Director of Transportation for the City of Winston-Salem. The Department of Transportation for the City of Winston-Salem's mission is to move people and goods safely and efficiently on the surface transportation system in Winston-Salem. We do this by managing and maintaining traffic signals, signs, traffic markings, roadways, sidewalks, the storm drains, on and off street parking system, the on-street lighting system, and we also manage the Winston-Salem Transit Authority. In preparation of the storm, on Tuesday, we began cleaning outlets. We also coordinated with our sanitation department on cleaning our curb lines of debris. DOT staff also fueled our equipment and prepared our tools to be ready to assist with tree removal if it became necessary, and we were requested to assist other departments such as our vegetation management department. Our staff also coordinated with the Winston-Salem Fire Department to place barricades at locations which are historically flood prone, and which would have assisted with rapid response to closing streets if those streets became flooded. On Thursday, we began our emergency mode for our staff. What that meant for us was that we had our crews working 2 12-hour shifts. We continued to work those 2 12-hour shifts from Thursday until Saturday afternoon at noon. As Chantel and Mel mentioned, the storm was not as bad as we anticipated, so we were able to send our staff home at noon on Saturday, but we did ask our crews to remain on emergency call as needed through Monday, and Monday we resumed our regular work operations. I will entertain any questions that you have for what we did for the storm, if you have any. If not, Mel will come back up.
I had a quick question.
Yes,
Do you
sir.
guys plan to send a lot more people down there, or is it kind of, have you already done what you're going to do?
We didn't send anyone anywhere. These were just the preparations that we did here in Winston-Salem to prepare for the storm in case the rainfall was as much as was anticipated in the beginning.
All right.
Thank you, Chantel and Tanique. We appreciate you joining us today. We and educating our citizens on the role that the agencies play in public safety response. Let me add or kind of amend the question or the answer to the question that was just asked. What I said was the state of North Carolina had sent National Guard and other assets to South Carolina. Locally, there have been no assets asked for, but we do stand by in what we call a mutual aid mode in the event that we have assets or resources that can be used. And of course, at that time, we'll make a decision, first of all, whether those assets can be spared, and secondly, whether we can refill those spaces that are going to be vacant while this personnel are away from the scene. But locally, we've not sent any assets to South Carolina at this point. Along with the CityLink and the Department of Transportation, we're often joined by other agencies in preparation for and response to future situations, and those personnel will ask to join us from time to time here at our media briefings so that you can get a better understanding as far as how city government and local governments work and how we have a cooperative nature that has to be spread amongst a number of agencies. We have to realize that a number of agencies in local government have dual roles. They have a normal day-to-day role and a role in extraordinary situations, and we wanted to emphasize that. And in closing, let me remind all of you that the majority of the 19 deaths in South Carolina and 2 in North Carolina occurred in or near vehicles. So we want to say it one more time, and we're going to probably say it until a long, long time from now. Turn around, don't drown. We thank you for coming. Are there any other questions? We thank you for, yes, sir.
How much did the city's preparations cost?
I can't answer that. I can get an answer for you, but it was not a great deal of money. It was primarily coordination, and there was some overtime involved, but I'll get a figure for you, and I'll make sure everybody receives that number. Are there any other questions? We thank you for attending our October 2015 Public Safety Media Briefing.